Yes, hello, welcome to Riyadh here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And I know what you're thinking, there's no way you're in Riyadh. You're in New York, Dev. We are not in New York. Do not adjust your sets. We are indeed in the new home of big-time boxing, Riyadh. We are in Boulevard City, and that is Times Square right behind me. Today is all about the media workouts ahead of Saturday night's huge 5 versus 5 Queensberry versus Matchroom huge battle, and I am delighted to be in the company of a man who had his own workout this morning, so I hear. Mr. Andy Clark, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks. I was 2 machines down from Zhilei the Big Bang Jang. I can confirm that he's looking like he's trimmed down. He was having a nice steady trot next to his trainer Sean George, and he looked in good shape. I'd say he's a stone lighter, maybe more than last time we saw him.
I love the idea of Zhilei Zhang trotting on a treadmill. I can imagine whatever machine you were on, probably all the heavyweights, knowing you, Andy, but I'd imagine it was all rumbling and rumbling and rumbling every time he sort of touched the treadmill.
He's lighter on his feet than you might think, actually. Yeah, and he looked good. He looked really, really good. I had a quick chat with Sean and just said, it seems like the big fella is going to come in a bit lighter, and he said, yeah, you know, he's in better shape for this one. The gym's quite an instructive place to hang out, actually. You see fighters dipping in and out. I've seen Raid Ford down there a couple of times. Just, again, nice slow runs, just taking off those last few ounces. It's quite air-conditioned in there, though, which I don't think really suits all of them. I think some of them have ventured outside maybe later in the evening just to get that sweat on, which it doesn't take a lot, does it, in these conditions?
Not at all. And I'll be honest, for viewers at home, this is a risk. This blazer is a risk. It is 37 degrees here. For those who have been following me on social media today, it was touch and go. Do you go with the blazer? Do you just do the T-shirt? It's blazer for now, is what I would say. When it comes to these workouts, I guess you can learn things ahead of fight night. You mentioned there Zhilei Zhang. You think he's done a few pounds. I guess we'll see more of that today. But this can be quite informative, workouts like this, Andy.
It can be sometimes. I think you can tell maybe who's a little bit tight. And people have been talking about how Ray Ford, who I mentioned, is tight at the weight. But at lower weights, everybody is really. It's a struggle for everybody to make it down there around the bantamweights, featherweights, lightweight, you know, and until you get up to those divisions where there's a real difference between them, which is kind of welterweight onwards, everybody's really tight during fight week. But some people want to do a little bit more than others. Tyson Fury, for example, did quite a lot a couple of weeks ago, which we weren't really expecting. So generally speaking, they'll stick to a plan, but sometimes they get here on the night and decide that they want to put on a little bit of a show. So you always have more people around as well. Day by day, just more people appear, don't they, during fight week, essentially. And so you've got more people to kind of tap into and talk to from around the teams, and some more kind of impartial, neutral observers as well, who usually bring a slightly different take. So you just learn more day by day.
Yeah, and sometimes you get little games. You mentioned there the Tyson Fury Alexander Usyk workouts. Feels like just last night, but it was a whole week ago now, 2 weeks the workout. But Tyson Fury did it in Southpaw. Alexander Usyk did some of his in Orthodox as well. Little games being played. Usyk did not take his eyes off Tyson Fury during his workout. So there might be a little bit of that today. You just never know, Andy.
No, exactly. And, you know, you look at it's the nominal top of the bill because they're all equal fights, really. But Wilder and Jang is a kind of fascinating fight. Will we see Wilder get in there and really let some leather fly? Just to remind everybody, listen, I might not have been able to detonate it against Joseph Parker, but I can still drop bombs, because we didn't see it at all, did we, that night? And people are wondering whether he can still do that. I feel like he can, because the power, as people will tell you, is generally the last thing to go. With Zhang, we know that he's heavy-handed, and I love hearing that sound on the pads of a real solid puncher. Sometimes they'll switch around their stance, like you say. Sometimes they'll just do absolutely nothing at all. There is quite a lot of kidology and mind games that go into it at times.
Well, let's talk about that fight, since that's the one that you've brought up. Zhang versus Wilder. Now, a lot of question marks around Deontay Wilder. You talked about what we could see from him today. He keeps saying that he's rediscovered the Bronze Bomber and that the Bronze Bomber is back. From being with him so far in this fight week, he kind of sounds just like he did ahead of the Joe Parker fight. Same sort of stuff, going quite deep and philosophical. You expect the switch to kind of flick on fight night and him to transition to Bronze Bomber. It didn't happen last time. I wonder if he's going to give us a little glimpse today, or maybe at the presser tomorrow. When do you think it will happen? Will it happen?
I'm not sure it will happen myself. I think he'll try to make it happen. I think he will look to, as you say, flick that switch, but I'm not sure that's how it really works. I don't think you can manufacture it. I think that edge is either there or it isn't there, and at some point in your career you probably do lose it. And the way he's been speaking the last couple of fight weeks, I think bodes brilliantly for the rest of his life after boxing, but not particularly well for a boxing career. And to be honest with you, I've loved watching him down the years, but I'm kind of pleased for him in a strange kind of way. It doesn't mean that he can't still beat really good fighters, because he can, because he's got that power and he has a chin, and he's here because he wants to be here. He's made all the money you could possibly want to make. He doesn't need to be here, so the desire is still there, but maybe that slight edge where winning was just the most important thing. It was the only thing. You were prepared to do whatever it took to make it happen. I think that probably has slightly gone. It doesn't mean that you can't still perform at a high level, but I think that guy we used to see, I think he has left the building.
And I guess we're going to find out officially on Saturday night. All of this stuff, I'm sure he'll be saying stuff at the press conference. He'll be almost trying to convince maybe even himself that the Bronze Bomber is still there. We're going to find out on Saturday. But with Zhilei Zhang, he's going to stick it right on Deontay Wilder. This isn't a guy that fights on the back foot, is going to be floating around. He's going to be there for Deontay Wilder to hit. That's the sort of fight that I see anyway, Andy.
Yes, I mean, exactly. He's going to be within range and he's going to be hittable, but his upper body movement is better, I think, than people maybe give him credit for. It's not extravagant. When you're that size, it can't be, because that's just too tiring a way to fight, but he is good at slipping and sliding, just moving enough to evade the shots. He's a skillful fighter, obviously with a very strong amateur background, so he will back his own boxing ability and instincts against somebody like Wilder, and the instincts are absolutely key when you fight someone like that. You've got to be completely committed to what it is that you're doing and believe in what you're doing, and if he does get knockdowns like he did against Parker, he's going to need to try and follow them up. At the end of the fight, he seems kind of at peace with the fact that he'd lost, and then quite quickly after that, and this is quite common, the story changed and he felt like he'd been robbed. And the reality is, if you knock somebody down twice in a fight at that level, you've got to win. Because they weren't flash knockdowns, they were proper knockdowns. Okay, they might have kind of come from nowhere, but they were heavy shots. You know, you can't let somebody off the hook like that. It
was a kind of a strange performance from Zhang against Parker. I guess the theory out there is take him to the second half of the fight and then he'll get really tired. And I think that's what Joe Joyce tried to do as well. He couldn't really ever make it to the second half of the fight because of the damage that he took. But Joe Parker was there, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and Zhang wasn't really throwing anything back. So if you're Deontay Wilder, considering the style that he has, by the way, can he take that risk? Can he try and take it through to the second half of the fight and then land the big bangs of his own later on? What do you think?
I think that Wilder might come out quite quick, because when we've seen him in the past, he hasn't really messed around, has he? He's tended to try and jump on people.
And that was the best Wilder.
Yeah, I think so. I think that is the best Wilder. And the fights against Fury, he very nearly won that first fight. We feel like Tyson was unlucky on the cards, but he was a second away from losing. So he very nearly won that fight. The second one, obviously, it didn't really go according to plan. I think it's the understatement of the year. And then the third fight, he was the Wilder of old. He was out there swinging. And I think that's what he needs to do, because he's kind of the only person I can think of who can really step into the middle of the ring almost and let his hands go at this level, because generally that is just, you are asking for trouble. But he throws punches from such unorthodox angles that he can do that.
And can I just say, what a venue. Look at that on your screen. This is Times Square, not in New York. This is here in Boulevard City in Riyadh. The 5 versus 5. Frank Warren versus Eddie Hearn, Queensberry versus Matchroom. Another huge event here in what has become the capital of big-time boxing. And the way that has illuminated is quite extraordinary, Andy. And do you know what? As much as we keep coming here, there keeps being something that just catches me off guard and surprises me and looks more amazing than last time.
100%, because this was where we were for Fury and Garnu, wasn't it? This exact backdrop, and we thought it looked spectacular that night with the screens that were here, and there was a lovely purple carpet and a kind of holding pen for the media, and it was great. But it's nothing like this.
No.
This is a few months down the line, and all of a sudden it's just an entirely different ball game. I mean, there's a kind of dance floor looking type thing down below us there, which I think is just for an aerial shot.
I think that's for you, Andy. I've heard that it's actually completely set up for you to bust a move.
Disastrous idea.
We're going to be joined now by Hall of Fame boxing promoter who's going to be given a mic, Mr. Frank Warren. How are you, sir?
I'm good, young man. How you doing? You right, Harry?
Good, thanks. Yeah,
all
very
good.
well.
Frank, I mean, this is it. Days away from the rivalry, which has gone on for, what, 40 years? You're finally going to get maybe one over on Eddie Hearn on Saturday.
Finally? We've had a few over him. What are you talking about, finally? We're going to get another one over him. Yeah, look, we're really looking forward to it. Competitive fights, fabulous fights, all good, even matches. And I can see all my guys coming through.
And you've been pretty out there with your prediction. You've gone 5 knockouts. Genuinely believe every Queensberry fighter will win by knockout.
I believe all our fighters are capable of winning by knockout, and I genuinely believe we will win all the fights.
How long did it take to agree on the weights? Because we've ended up with featherweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and 2 at heavyweight. Was that a long, drawn-out kind of negotiation, or was it quite easy?
No, it's really simple. We had to pick 2 weights apiece, Eddie and myself. I picked heavyweight and middleweight because they've always been strong weights in the British division. And he picks his 2 weights, light, heavy, and feather. And then His Excellency picked like the joker in the pack, if you want to call it. So he went for the heavyweights. So that's how we got to where we got to.
We'll talk more in detail about this 5 versus 5, but just got to get your comment on the news, which is now officially out there, that the rematch is now confirmed for December 21st. Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, they run it back, they do it all over again. How excited are you to have that fight happening again, Frank?
Well, I'm very excited about it. It was an unbelievable fight, the first one. The biggest fight of the 21st century, an unbelievable heavyweight fight. Nothing in it. Both guys, I mean, they never left anything in the ring. They both give their all. And they want to dance again, so that's going to happen. It's been pushed back, so I think one of them, not Tyson, but Usyk, I understand, sustained an injury, which won't be, there's a reason he won't be fit before then. But that's a perfect date for it. Give them both time to recuperate from a very, very, very tough fight. And hopefully we'll see the same again. Tyson wants it, I want it. It's as simple as that. When I say I want it if Tyson wants it.
Yeah, you don't want Usyk, do you, Frank?
I definitely don't want Usyk, no.
But it is a good turnaround time, isn't it? Because mid-October, even if there hadn't been any kind of injury, given that they've both been in camp for a really long time and how hard that fight was, that felt quite quick to me. Whereas December, Christmas, feels kind of perfect.
Well, it does, and it works out a good time of year anyway. We did one over here just before Christmas, and it had a tremendous turnout. Done really good numbers, and I think this one will do even bigger. This would be a massive fight, be much bigger than the first one because of how close it was, what a dynamic fight it was. How dramatic it was. It will have all that again and more next time, I promise you.
What has he got to do to win the rematch? Because he had plenty of success. One judge had him winning the fight. What has he got to do to win it?
He's got to do what he does well, which is to go out there, box, get behind his jab, use his jab, and let his shots go. And he did that. And up until mid-fight, he really got on top of it for me. And he got a second win, the other guy. And once he caught Tyson on the nose in that 7th round, it just changed a bit of the dynamic of the fight. Tyson just seemed to lose his focus very briefly. Then obviously he had the big round in the 9th, and that was it. But it was a fight of 2 halves. That's how I looked at it. There was nothing in it for me. Tyson won the last round. He got back into it, and he knows what he's got to do better than anybody. And I'm sure Usyk does as well. Having said that, that fight will take a lot out of both of them. They need the time to recover, and it'd be interesting to see, who's learnt the most from the first fight.
Have you spoken to him about it in the last kind of week or so? Obviously, you were with him at the press conference straight after the fight, but in the last few days, maybe, have you chatted and his thoughts have changed at all?
I spoke to him when he got back to make sure he was okay, and the first words out of his mouth is that he wanted the rematch. And he said he was told that he'd won the fight and felt he'd won it. But no one's complaining about the decision. It's a close fight, and I get how it could have been scored either way by people, and a lot of people scoring it a draw. But next time, I think it's going to be a more emphatic fight between the two of them. And what I mean by that, I think you'll get a decision that will not be debatable.
Fantastic stuff. Look, we absolutely can't wait for it, Frank. Just your word on the main event, on Wilder versus Zhang, Zhang versus Wilder. Zhang looks to have lost a little bit of weight. He looks like he's coming in good shape.
He's in excellent shape. He's trained very, very hard, as has Deontay. Both these guys are at a crossroads now. The loser, I am pretty sure, will be very much done at the highest echelon of the sport. And neither of them can afford to do that, especially at their age. So they're both on the money. And our man Zhang, he's really up for this. He fancies it big time. So we will see. One thing for sure, it will be exciting. I do fancy Zhang to do the business. You know, even the fight with Joe Parker, I mean, he was well in front in that fight until he faded at the end. A couple of knockdowns. He's a powerful puncher. And Deontay, for me, in his last fight, I couldn't believe what I was watching. He's got to really turn himself around to be in this fight. And we can see where he can do that.
Let me ask you this, Frank. You've promoted so many fighters over the years, been involved in the sport for so long. How often do you see a fighter say that they've lost the hunger, but then get it back? Because that's what Deontay Wilder is saying here.
It's not just the hunger, it's also, as you get older, we all know it, and I know it better than all of you, as you get older, things change. And for a fighter, obviously, you've got your brains there still when you're fighting. You've got your boxing brain, you know what your moves, but it's whether your body can respond to it and whether you're still, you're not a young man anymore. Your styles change. I've seen like Muhammad Ali up on his toes, moving around hard to hit. As he got older, his legs went flat-footed and he adapted and changed his style. Boxed far too long, by the way, should have stopped. And I've seen that with a lot of fighters. And you'll find some fighters who come out and knock everybody over, then they stop knocking them over and the fights go the distance because when you're throwing big punches, you're exposing yourself. You throw a big right hand, your chin's out there. As soon as it's there, your chin's up. And you get clipped. And a lot of the big punchers change their adapt their styles because they don't want to get clipped. And you see fights go longer. But for me, the first one to know that it's changed and it's over, believe you me, is the fighter. Last to admit it, but they're the first to know. And you can only do so much in boxing. Boxing, at the end of the day, unless you're an ultra-smart fighter, is a young man's game.
Well, one thing that we do know is that this location, yet again, is absolutely extraordinary, Frank. Every time we come back here for another show, the levels just go up and up and up. Talk to me about this.
Well, it does. I mean, look at the background that we're looking at now. I mean, look at that. Nothing's done by halves it's not done by holes. I mean, it just goes to another level. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I tell you what, and the fighters respond to this. The fighters, they know this is big time. They're in here. They know they've got to go out there and put on the performance of their life. They want to be on this platform continually. And the only way you do that, you've got to keep winning. Or if you get beat, you've got to look good getting beat. And that, for me, is it's inspiring for them. And they're all rising to this occasion. That's why I feel so strong about our team in this 5v5. You see them yesterday. They're as a group. When they were announced, all together, all cheering together. It's great. There's a lot of camaraderie there. We've got a good captain in there. This is great stuff.
What do you think about this fight, though, Bivol defending his title against Malik Zinad? Because Bivol wouldn't appear to be the kind of guy who would take his eye off the ball, but if ever you were going to, these are kind of the perfect conditions for it to happen, because Bivol was expecting to fight Better BF for Undisputed. He'd been waiting a really long time. That's not happening. Now he's got a late replacement, a guy who'll be hungry, looking to take his opportunity. People can swear blind they will never take their eye off the ball, but it happens, doesn't it?
You're right, Andy. It does happen. It does happen on occasions. Bivol's he's got the perfect record, hasn't he? He's 20-0. I think it's 20-0, isn't it now? He's a great fighter. He's done everything that's asked of him. Bit of a Brit basher as well. He knows he can't afford to slip up. He's got a massive payday coming up against Bebersiev, which should be rescheduled for the autumn. So he has to be at his best because everybody's going to be coming at him. If you get this opportunity now, you can jump in and you can literally seize it with both hands. Come from nowhere and do it. And we've seen it happen now. It's happened on a few times. It's big upsets. So, as I say, anything can happen. I expect Bivol to come through if he's if he continues to do as he does. But he's no youngster either.
No, he's not. And listen, if an upset is going to happen, it'll probably happen here. Strange things happen in Riyadh.
Here, no doubt about that. No doubt about that.
I'll tell you what else I've noticed, because you mentioned about the atmosphere, the kind of the setting here. The fighters do respond to it. The chest puffs out, the shoulders get a little broader, and I haven't seen broader shoulders and a chest puffed out more than Hamza Shiraz this week. He's taken to the captaincy.
Look, he's taking it. I met with his dad today. He's taking it with both hands, literally with both hands. He's loving the responsibility of being the captain, being the figurehead of the team. He's a terrific young guy. I mean, not just I think he's a really exceptional boxer, but he's also an exceptional sportsman. And he's got a great air about him. He's like a natural-born type of leader guy. And for me now, this fight for him is a massive, massive moment in his career. He's obviously got to win it. But so if he does win it, he then catapults himself up into some seriously big fights.
Tough fight, though, against Damo Williams.
It's the final eliminator for the world title, so that's the next stage. And he's in with a good fighter. No doubt about that. It's a competitive fight, but I believe in him. This is his toughest fight on paper, but I do believe in him, because each time we put him in, we've raised the level. He's responded to that. And responded to it in style, not just fiddle all the way through and won a fight. He's blasted people out in style.
I mean, it's the biggest fight of his career up until this point, and that's the same for Williams. And I think that's what's great about the card, because if you look at every fight, you can make a very strong argument that for every fighter, all 10 of them, this is the biggest fight of their career. Wilder, you would say, has been in bigger fights because he's been a world champion. But right here, right now, this is it for him.
This is his Crossroads fight. This fight is his career. That's it. He's either got a career or he hasn't got a career. Simple as that.
And for the rest of them, they can bounce back, I think. Whoever loses can bounce back. But it's the biggest fight of their career up until now.
Well, they're young men. They can, and you're absolutely right, they can do that. But obviously they don't want to lose. Daniel Dubois is in a tough fight. He's in with a mandatory challenger, undefeated fighter. There's history there. They've had a lot of sparring together over the years. I think it's about 4 or 5 sparring sessions, and they were very, very competitive, albeit Daniel was it was 5 years or 6 years ago. But there's no love lost there, you see that. I mean, genuinely no love lost between the two of them. This again is going to be a cracking fight, an absolute barn burner. And I do fancy Daniel. He's got all the tools to win this fight. He's got a great jab, he can box. He's got tremendous power in both hands, good finisher. He's quite fast on his feet, he's quite nimble. It's going to be about his heart and mind. That's what it's about now. His heart and mind. And his heart and mind are in good place at the moment.
Well, it's also it's belief as well, right? I mean, it feels like that Jarrell Miller fight, there was a moment in there.
Well, that's heart.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're digging deep. You know, that 4th round, just for a moment, and then he switched back on. And Miller come to win. Miller's a big guy, and you know, he's a tough sod and so forth. But as soon as he got him in trouble, that shows you how dangerous he is right until the last round. As soon as he spots that moment, he clips you, and it's all over. He gets you. You really got to be a good fighter to survive that.
That was a massive moment, I think, in that fight, because it just brought home something that trainers always say. I remember Telly Atlas saying it, others have said it, that what you're always trying to explain to your fighter is that those moments where it feels like it's too much and it's really, really hard, they will pass if you just stick in there. And he's stuck in there, because like you, I thought he might be about to go under, but he didn't, and he won the fight, and I just think it was massive for his confidence.
That's right. And you know, Teddy's a very respected trainer and a very knowledgeable boxing guy. But he also done the same against Kevin Lerena. Lorena's the good puncher, and he caught him in that first round, and he hurt him and put him on. You know, he went on the floor and he tore all his ligaments. And then he could see he couldn't set himself properly, but he gritted his teeth in that fight. He showed what he had a bit of heart there, and eventually done what he had to do and stop Kevin. Great stoppage. He showed. That's been the thing. Because of the fight with Joe Joyce, everybody started, or a lot of people started doubting his heart and his desire. You know what? This fight on Saturday is going to be about heart, mind, desire. That's what it's about.
Brilliant stuff, Frank. We're going to let you go. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Pleasure.
And 5-0, yeah?
Absolutely. And don't forget Andy's book. It's
a
great
read. Tell him.
Cheers.
It's a great read. Yeah.
Thanks.
That is a wonderful plug for your book. And now we've got Craig Spider Richards, who is in the ring. And it's a big, big fight. This is one of the 5 versus 5. It is the Spider against the Hutch train. Now, Craig Richards, of course, has competed at the higher level. He has been in there with Dimitri Bivol. He had a close fight with Dimitri Bivol. In theory, experience should be too much against Willie Hutchinson, right, Andy?
When you look at the respective records, as you outlined there, when you look at the body of work, then Richards has to start as a heavy favourite because he's won that British title. He won it in real style against Shakan Pitters. He vacated it immediately, did well against Bivol, did well against Buatsi, and earlier in his career stepped up at really short notice and stepped up in weight to fight Frank Buglioni on a massive show as well. So, you know, you cannot question his nerve, you cannot question his desire to really test himself. What he knows now at the stage of his career that he's at is that this is an absolute must-win. It's a must-win. He needs to put Hutchinson away and then get himself involved in this scene we've got in Great Britain with Buatsi and Yard and Aziz. It's been frustrating for him to watch it. I was talking to him yesterday. It's been frustrating to watch it. I've done loads of his fights. I always find him interesting because he is never slow to let you know what he thinks about things. If I've said something that he wasn't keen on, he's always happy to bring it to your door, and I'm always available for that. He's definitely one of these guys who, when you watch him, and other fighters who've been in there with him have told me this, they watch him and they feel like, okay, well, there's nothing particularly special there. Then they get in there and it's just different. He's a lot better than they think he's going to be.
Well, similarly, with Willie Hutchinson, people are probably looking at him saying he got done by Lennox Clark in, a few years ago. Of course, he's not going to beat Craig Richards, but I would attest that this is a completely new Hutch train. That was 4 or 5 years ago, first time he'd ever made super middleweight. And here's a man who could probably make super middleweight himself. Looking in great shape,
if I could make cruiserweight, I'd be astonished. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm feeling great, mate. I'm really excited. I think this card is really growing now in terms of excitement. And obviously, there's a lot on the line for us and all the fighters involved. And sometimes we were just talking on the DAZN stream there about, by the way, we've also got Dimitri Bivol, defended his world title in a really good fight as well. So, massive card ahead.
Well, listen, you've got a man there, Craig Richards, who ran Dimitri Bivol very close. I think people forget how close that fight was. Are you making him a heavy favourite against Willie Hutchinson?
Barry Jones just said that he thinks he's a heavy favourite. I do think he's a favourite going into the fight because of the company he's mixed in. But he has lost in that company. It was to Dimitri Bivol and Joshua Buatsi, really. But he's definitely boxed at a higher level than Willie Hutchinson. He's definitely been on bigger platforms and occasions than Willie Hutchinson. But when you've got the pedigree of Willie Hutchinson, you never know actually what is there to come when he's up against it. I think the defeat to Lennox Clark, he's probably not a great example of his levels, but with Willie, I feel like it's always been a case of preparation, mentality. If he's got it right, he's going to be very difficult to beat, and you'd expect him to get it right on an occasion like this.
Yeah, just speaking about the Lennox Clark fight, that was the first time Willie Hutchinson, the only time in his career, he actually made super middleweight. Yeah. He's been light heavyweight before, light heavyweight after. There's an element of X factor about Willie Hutchinson. Yeah. You just never know. Yeah,
and also the build-up's been great. You're going to get some great action between these two guys at the press conference tomorrow. That's what we want. We want it to mean something. And this is a really good domestic matchup. It's a fight that would headline one of our respective standard cards in the UK. It's the first fight on the 5v5, so it shows you the quality of the card. And one thing we know is it's going to be very competitive because Willie's a good fighter. This isn't going to be one that's not one fight on this 5v5 will be a one-sided either way. No one's going to lose every round. No one's going to get just destroyed with ease. Every matchup super competitive, and obviously we back Craig to do the business.
Do you think that during the course of the week that things will change in terms of the mentality and the relationships between the two teams? I don't expect it's going to get nasty at any point, but let's be real, everybody wants to win here. You want to win, Frank wants to win. You did great stuff yesterday. You're the best of friends now. You doubled up on your interviews. It was very, very entertaining. But as each day goes by, I think there's going to be a degree of separation there and a bit more of an edge.
Yeah, and you've got it really. I mean, we already saw in the media days earlier on the fight between Hrgovic and Dubois. No doubt that will spill over. Obviously, Craig and Willie nearly went at it last night. Ammo and Hamza is just a fascinating matchup. And even Deontay and Zhang, you know, slight language barrier, but they both have the same intention, which is to win by devastating knockout. So, yeah, I think, you know, the press conference tomorrow is going to be lively, the weigh-in's going to be lively. It's just a great night of boxing, you know, really so well matched. And everyone's so excited. Like, you know, the two teams are separated backstage by a big, you know, sort of boundary, and they're all sitting there chatting amongst each other. And there's a real feeling of camaraderie, and this concept's never been done before. And I think sometimes we talk about, you know, Queensberry and Matchroom, but actually it's the concept that's so compelling. Throughout the broadcast, we're going to have the points running on the, you know, on the graphics, and it will come down, really, probably to the two captains' picks. Because if Hamza wins by knockout, Deontay's going to have to win by knockout to give us a chance. If Ammo wins, they're bang in trouble, and we might have to just hold on to squeak out a points win for Deontay. But it's going to go to the wire, and you know, it's a concept that's never been done before.
Let me ask you about Deontay, Eddie. You brought up Deontay Wilder there. I asked Frank the same question. You've been promoting boxing a long, long time, been around the sport your whole life. How often have you heard of a fighter saying that they've lost the hunger, but then you see them get it back?
Yeah, good point. Good point. You know, and I think that's, you know, I wouldn't say that it's hunger necessarily. It's just
that's
life
what Frank
changes.
said,
Yeah,
by the way.
it's like I think it's more of a,
it's just that
mentality,
absolute
and it's also
razor-sharp edge,
confidence.
isn't it, I think?
Look, AJ, I think, lost his confidence, right, and now he's got it back. So he's a good example. He never lost his hunger, and I just think that sometimes you need those kind of nights where it doesn't go your way to just give you a kick up the backside, and I'm hoping that's what's happened to Deontay Wilder. He's talking a great game. Sometimes it's better to look into the eyes, and I get a good vibe from him. But he's still fighting the demons of the Joseph Parker fight. It was out here in Saudi Arabia. He's talking about, if I lose, this could be the end for me. Now, are you checking out, or are you putting the pressure on yourself? Hopefully the latter. But let's be honest, that fight basically is whoever chins who first, isn't it? I mean, we can talk about his hunger's back. He's had a good camp. You get hit on the chin by Zhilei Zhang, you're going to sleep. And you get hit on the chin properly by Deontay Wilder, you're also going to sleep. So someone's got to bring their pillow.
Well, let's see if there are any pillows. Do you think pillows will be needed in the featherweight fight? Ray Ford, your man there, against Nick Ball, WBA Featherweight Championship on the line. Are we going to need pillows? Is there going to be a knockout? What do you think?
You know, both guys can punch. I don't think at world level both are renowned for their punching power, but they can both crack. I mean, Ford just stopped Komatov, who's a great fighter. Nick Ball, we've seen, you know, stop Dubois and other fighters as well. Very good fighter. I think this is going to really come down to how Nick Ball can handle the skills of Ray Ford. Like, against Komatov's very strong, very tall featherweight, and he stood and fought him for a long part of that fight. I think with Nick Ball, he'll want to keep him long, you know, pick him off, and I think the style will suit Ray until it starts to get tough and deep. And that early rounds, you know, you saw in the Catchell-Taylor fight last week, Josh Taylor really made the pace hot in the early parts of that fight, and just in like 6, 7, 8 it started to look like this pace was too hot for Jack. Luckily he found the second wind. If Nick Ball can make the pace hot from early, Ray will feel it, but we've seen him carry his power and show his heart in the later rounds already. So I'll make Nick Ball a favourite in this fight. Sorry, no, I definitely don't. Well, what's going on there?
No. He's finally seen sense.
Yeah, I saw your face like that. Ray Ford a favourite in this fight, but I do really rate Nick Ball, and he's a nightmare. He's a nightmare to fight. You know he's going to come and come and come. And the size is difficult and awkward, especially for a Ray Vargas. How often do you fight a guy who's, what, 5'2", 5'3"? He can really fight, but Ray is special.
I agree with pretty much everything you said there, because I think Nick does have to make sure he takes something out of Ray in the first half of the fight. The thing I do slightly worry about with Ray, and I know people are talking about it to the point where it's becoming a bit boring, is the weight. Everybody struggles to make weight in the lower weights, but you're going to stay at the weight when you've won the title. We discussed this yesterday. And also that Komatov fight wasn't that long ago. It's quite a quick turnaround.
Well, he made, you know, under, obviously the commission out here is the British Boxing Board of Control. They have their check weights, which is difficult for the international fighters. He made his check weight today of 129 pounds, which is 3 pounds over the limit. It's always tight for Ray Ford, right? But this camp, no stone unturned. So he's in a much better place than he was for the Komatov fight. It's always going to be hard come Friday on the scales, no doubt about that. But you know, it's how you recover, how you perform, and you know, a move to 130 is inevitable. But he don't want to let go of that belt. You know, he worked very hard to get it.
Well, speaking of a man who won't want to let go of any belts, it's now been confirmed today, Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, the rematch is on December 21st. Huge ramifications, of course, for the heavyweight division. Sure, Anthony Joshua and everyone will be watching. What are your thoughts on it, and where does AJ kind of fit into the picture for you?
Well, I mean, really, AJ, he's coming, this week, and this is really off his own back. I mean, he was invited to Fury Usyk, and obviously it's a massive fight, but he loves this concept and knows a lot of the fighters on the card. And good to see. I mean, the front runner to fight AJ next is the winner of Hrgovic Dubois, and likely to be for the world title. But at the same time, if Deontay Wilder comes and looks sensational, maybe it reignites Joshua against Wilder. So great news that the rematch is made between Usyk and Fury, because it's a huge fight. And I'm kind of glad it's December, because I think sometimes you can lock it in for October and then you get to like August and the guy's not quite ready and stuff like that. So it gives the guys enough time. We will likely fight in September, and we'll be having our eyes peeled for both of those heavyweight fights on Saturday night.
Well, when do you think that'll get confirmed, that date in September? Because the chat has been
talking
Wembley,
about a press conference, as soon as June 24th or 5th, for a press conference in London. I heard him say today in an interview. So the card's really shaping up. Myself, George and Spencer and His Excellency's brainstorming on all these tremendous fights, and AJ sets a headline. We'll find out against who.
It'll be amazing to have him back at Wembley, because I remember that spell, 2017, 2018, Wembley, Cardiff, Wembley, and I was lucky enough to be at them, and as they were happening, I was thinking to myself, this is not normal. This is absolutely unbelievable. This will be a great homecoming.
Yeah, it will, and I've got to say as well, what you're seeing over here is also having really positive ramifications for boxing worldwide. We're seeing ticket sales increase, digital numbers increase, interactions increase, because the big fights are getting made. And the fact that His Excellency is actually bringing big-time boxing to England as part of Riyadh season just shows you how closely he listens to the fans.
And LA.
But it's like, this is amazing for boxing. We'd love a big one over here. Okay, let's make it happen as an advert for Riyadh season before that starts again in October. So LA, August the 3rd, Wembley Stadium in September. Amazing times.
Let me just get your thoughts quickly on Dubois Hrgovic.
Yeah.
Now, Hrgovic seems to have had one of those careers where you hear so many great things, but on fight night, I guess he's only fought Zhang really at the highest level.
Yeah, everyone's been talking about Hrgovic for a long time. There's a difference between the gym and in the ring. I mean, he's always looked good in the ring, and to be fair, in the Zhang fight, he had some personal problems. His father passed away, so I just think he's a very well-schooled fighter. And this is the best time for Daniel to fight anyone, because he's got that momentum off the Jarrell Miller fight. He definitely ticked some of the boxes of people who questioned his heart. But Hrgovic is a different kind of animal to Jarrell Miller. I mean, he may not be as heavy, but he's an outstanding fighter. He's got excellent fundamentals. He punches very hard. I do think he stops Daniel Dubois, but Daniel can punch. He's a great fighter as well. And you've never really seen Hrgovic in with a young, explosive heavyweight. And if Daniel can actually take this fight by the horns, if he tries to box Filip Hrgovic and he gets the 1-2 down the middle, it could go early. If he actually takes the fight to Filip Hrgovic, who knows? I mean, who knows how he's going to respond? But
he's got to start quick, hasn't he?
Yeah. I don't want to give him tactics, by the way.
No, but I think you're right. I think he has to start quick, because you can't let Hrgovic get into that kind of monster truck gear that he gets into.
Hrgovic actually starts fast, and he's also he's a very sharp puncher early in the fight as well. You see against Dempsey McKean and against Zhang, actually that sometimes he can get a little bit sloppy and the power goes a little bit. Those first 3 or 4 rounds, if Dubois doesn't get his respect, could be an early night.
Final one, Eddie, before we let you go. I've heard you say that should you lose this, we may not see you for a long time. So you're taking it all in, making sure you're
excited about that, aren't you? I mean,
you take it all in.
I know it's all friendly, Matchroom Queensberry, but deep down, you lot would absolutely love to stuff us on Saturday night, wouldn't you?
No comment at all. Neutral broadcaster.
Unlucky, ain't going to happen.
Eddie Hearn, thank you so much. We will see you during the week. Drop that mic. That's Eddie Hearn, and that is currently Austin Ammo Williams, or at least he used to be called Austin Ammo Williams. I have since learned he is now Austin Tiger Williams, so a complete change of nickname. It goes with the tail that he's currently got on you. It's just not something you see every day, Andy Clark.
No, it's definitely not. Yeah. It's definitely not. I saw quite a lot of him back in 2019. He was over for a month with Regis Prograis before Prograis' fight with Josh Taylor, and they were living in Plaistow and training at the Peacock, which is just round the corner from where I live. So I went down to the Peacock 2 or 3 times to see them. because it was just fun for me really to watch the sparring, but also just talk to them a little bit about what it was like being in East London, living in a flat just down the road, and they all settled in really well and thoroughly enjoyed it. And he's a good fighter. He had a few little issues not too long after that he had to work out, but he's a good fighter. He's an undefeated fighter, and these two run into each other, I think, at kind of very similar stages of their career, because for both of them this is the sternest, toughest test they've had so far.
I would say that both of them have superstar quality, and the winner will start becoming a real superstar on Saturday. And speaking of superstars, we are joined by the Wrecking Bull. Nick, how are you? You good?
All good, you?
I'm good. I saw you running around the hotel last night. I think you had Andrew Kane, a couple others with you as well. Enjoying it?
Yeah, enjoying it, yeah. Just made up to be here, yeah. It's a massive opportunity and great experience, yeah, so made up.
And looking around, I mean, this is something, well, I would say something like never before. You were in Riyadh a couple of months ago, but every time we come here, it seems to get better and better. This is even more extravagant than Knockout Chaos.
Yeah, exactly. I said that to the lads before. It's only the start, and look how big it is already. So, as you said, each time it's bigger and bigger, innit? So, it's a boss to be a part of.
We always end up talking about weight with lower weights, because we look at Ray Ford and we feel like he's tight at the weight, and I think that's a fair comment. With you, I get the feeling that you love hitting the weight to the absolute ounce, that you've got that down to such a fine art now, because I don't know if you're aware of it, you're probably not, but you know, I've been spying on you in the canteen, and you know, you've been eating well, so yeah. I don't think there's any problems there. But last time out, you hopped on the scales, you were 9 stone dead, and I'd seen you doing a little bit in the gym earlier in the morning, and it just occurred to me that you like to nail it right on the mark.
Yeah, that's it, innit? We're professionals, so that's our job, to be a true professional and always get it right. Yeah.
Have you kept an eye on him in fight week? Because it does look like he's, like yesterday, I don't know if it's in a bid to lose more weight, but he was wearing a lot of clothes. It was very hot. He sort of kept his head down, kept himself to himself. Much of the same today as well. Are you kind of looking into things like that?
Not really, you know, Dev. I don't really look into things like that, because at the end of the day, we've all got to make the weight. I've got to make it as well, and then we're going to rehydrate and things like that, so it doesn't really matter. On the night is what matters.
He's actually said that he thinks this fight could go early.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm sure you...
He's right, yeah.
But also, like, he's talked about how people expect him to maybe dance and move and box and keep away from you. However, he thinks he could well stand in the pocket with you and have a bit of a trade-off. Do you think he'll do that?
Don't really know until fight night, yeah. It'd be interesting to see if he does, yeah. So, guess we'll wait and find out.
If you do win on Saturday, will you dance with Willie Hutchinson afterwards? Because he was trying to get you yesterday. He was dancing in front of you and you weren't having it. What about Saturday?
I'll have to, won't I? Yeah. We'll get the winner. We're dancing together, aren't we? So it's happening.
Just one final one. When it comes to tactics, you know, people like myself like to talk about tactics until we're blue in the face, but from talking to fighters, particularly at this level, yes, you'll have things you'll have worked on in the gym with Paul, things you feel like you might expose, certain things that when you do them, reactions you might get from him, but when the bell goes, no one really knows, do they? No. You just have to react to what's in front of you.
Exactly. With this one, yeah, it's a bit different, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Nick, we'll let you go. We'll see you at the press conference tomorrow. Thank you,
nice
my
one,
friend.
Dan. Thanks.
The Wrecking Bull. Let's head over to Thomas Schreiber, who is introducing El Animal.
14 of his 17 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the #1 ranked contender in the world by the IBF, Philippe El Animal Hrgovic.
Well, here comes El Animal, unbeaten Filip Hrgovic, Olympic bronze medalist, mandatory challenger for the IBF World Heavyweight Championship, of course, held along with all the other belts by Alexander Usyk. And he wants his shot, but I guess he's risking all against Daniel Dubois, Andy.
He is, and I think he was probably told that he would need to, because he got given a pass at Christmas. I don't want to be mean about Mark Demori, but he was never going to win that fight, and we know from the setup here that being given that kind of fight, he's the only person I can think of really who's been allowed that luxury. So the next time he boxed here, it was always going to need to be in a real fight, which is what this is. He was always going to need to put his his ranking, his IBF #1 ranking in jeopardy, and that's definitely what he's doing against Dubois. Hrgovic, like Eddie said, he likes to come out, throw some good sharp shots, let you feel it, and then box at his own pace. And if you let him do that, and he'll start cuffing you around, and then you've got problems. So I feel like Daniel does need to be a little bit brave in this one. He cannot allow him to settle into that kind of tempo. It doesn't mean you stand there and just swing or go out there all guns blazing, but I feel like as a younger man, as a more naturally athletic man, and he can punch too, he does need to try and keep that tempo quite high and trust his ability to sustain it, and if necessary, if he doesn't get the stoppage, if you blow a bit of a gasket, just hang in there.
Well, look at Daniel Dubois, just a bit of shadow boxing, getting himself nice and ready. I mean, Daniel Dubois, Triple D, is always in tremendous shape, but he seems to be more kind of toned. There seems to be more definition than ever from Triple D. I know he's working very hard in camp, and look, he's going to need to have put in absolutely everything in training camp against this guy. Let me ask you this. There's been a lot of talk about the whole sparring stories, right? Frank Warren mentioned it earlier. They probably did 4 or 5 times they sparred, and it'd be mixed results. But Filip Hrgovic is absolutely adamant that what he did in those spars will still sit in the head of Daniel Dubois.
It's kind of hard to say, really. Some fighters differ when it comes to what spars mean, particularly when they happened a while ago. But if you had the better of them, then you can take something from that, because you had the better of it and you know that the other person knows. And they'll be telling themselves, but that was 4 or 5 years ago, it doesn't mean anything now. And that's the logical way to approach it if you're Daniel Dubois. But if you're Hrgovic, you'll feel like, listen, when I look at you in the eyes, we both know what happened last time we were in the ring together. Okay, it wasn't on fight night. So that's a real tangible thing you can take if you're the person who came out of those episodes on top. But Dubois will feel like that's ancient history and not really that relevant. I like this fight a lot. As soon as this one was announced, Hrgovic, you have to make him the favourite. But we were talking about momentum earlier on. Hrgovic is undefeated, so you think, well, he's got great momentum, but he hasn't boxed that much.
No.
It was an indifferent display against Zhang. I wasn't massively impressed against Dempsey McKean. It was a gimme against Mark Demori, whereas Dubois has got the momentum to take into this from the Jarrell Miller fight. I'm not saying Jarrell Miller is a top 10, top 15 guy. He isn't, but it was still a big box ticked because he was put under a lot of pressure that week by Frank as well, who said basically if he can't do it against this guy, then he's not what we thought he was, and he came through it. So he's got that momentum.
He certainly has. He had to ask himself some questions in that Big Baby Miller fight, and I think his dad actually helped him answer those questions. Let's head over now very shortly to Thomas Treiber, who's going to announce Triple D Daniel Dynamite Dubois.
And now let's welcome, representing Queensberry Promotions, coming to us from Greenwich, London, England. He brings a professional record of 20 wins, 2 defeats, 19 of his 20 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the former WBA regular heavyweight world champion and the number 4 ranked contender in the world by the IBF, Triple D, Daniel Dynamite Dubois.
Come to Wembley to beat him on Wembley like Croatian national team beat Great Britain national team 4-2, if you remember. So that will be nice.
Just listening in on the ring walk music there. That's a Filip Hrgovic quote. Here comes Daniel Dynamite Dubois with a little bit of "It's Coming Home." Great choice. We're joined now by Hamza Shiraz as well, alongside Andy Clark. And Hamza, let me just get your reaction to Daniel Dubois' ring walk music.
He means business, doesn't he? He definitely means business. I mean, being around him all week is giving off that energy as well. So, it's definitely a win for Queensberry there.
Is he kind of unofficial vice captain the way he's carried himself this week? What do you think?
He's a man of very few words, to say the least. So I don't know about that, but he very well could be.
He could be the one who leads by example a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I said, being around him, he's definitely switched on. So if anyone's to lead by example, it's him.
He gave us a few words at the press conference last time that were entertaining against Jarrell Miller, so maybe we'll get something out of him tomorrow. But just to turn to your own fight, I bumped into you in the hotel lobby yesterday, and I said to you that this is the kind of fight where all this time you spent out in the USA, is going to come to fruition, I think, because he will bring that kind of American, couldn't give a who you are attitude, but you've had that for a long time now.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, if I didn't have that and I had an opponent like Ammo in front of me, I think mentally I could have been in a different place to where I usually am fight week. But I've seen it. I've been in with these loudmouths. I've been around them. I've trained with them. I know how they work and I know why they do it. Listen, when the cameras are switched off, he's actually a decent geezer. He's a nice guy, but as soon as they're switched on, the tail comes out and whatnot. So I'm used to it. I've seen it. I can see right through it. And I'm looking forward to a great fight on Saturday.
Could you see him chasing his tail on Saturday, Hamza?
I mean, listen, I don't think he'll be doing that because I don't plan on going the full distance. There comes fights in your career where you actually intend on not just winning, but putting a beating on your opponent, and this is one of them fights for me.
When I looked down your record last week and earlier this week, I didn't spot any fighters on there who I knew to be southpaws.
There's been one.
Is that an adjustment for you?
Not really, because like I said, when you're out in America, even when you're preparing for Orthodox, you always get southpaw sparring anyway. It is what it is, and it's nothing to be worried about.
And you've done all those rounds with Janibek as well. I mean,
exactly.
It ain't going to get better than that.
I've done over, like I said, 100 rounds with him in one camp. I've done over 100 rounds with him, and this was when I was at 154 as well. So I'm definitely a different man to then. So if I could do what I was doing then, I understand sparring is not the same as fighting, but the concept is is the same. So as long as I use my attributes and use it well, I should be fine.
And the fact that you're happy to come up and chat and you seem very relaxed suggests to me that the weight is okay.
Yeah, no, the weight is good. We're all on point, a few pounds over. We'll lose them probably tomorrow night and then ready for Friday weigh-in.
Has he said anything in the build-up to this fight that's even a little bit irritated you?
Not really, nothing. It's quite hard to irritate me. I'm a pretty cool person. More time, everything just goes over my head. It's just fun at the time, it is what it is, but like I said, it just comes, you can just sense the testosterone between us both. And like I said, it comes to a point in your career where you want to put a beating on something. This is it, because I want to go out there and stamp my authority.
And what are you expecting from him at the press conference tomorrow?
I don't know, to be fair. I don't know. Definitely something different, because he likes to be different. But I'm just going to be me and do what I always do.
Hey, it's worked so far. Best of luck to you, Captain Hamza
Cheers,
Shiraz.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
Hamza Shiraz, doesn't he look the part? It's what I mentioned to Frank earlier. Those shoulders look broader. The chest, it's more pumped out. That's a man happy with the pressure of captaincy. Probably not even a pressure to him, probably a privilege.
Yeah, he looks every inch that. And that's a good thing, because when you're coming into the biggest fight of your career, that's what you need. You need to go in there with that total conviction that you've done everything you can in preparation, and that allows you to banish doubt, really. That's what fighters tell you. If you've ticked every box, then when that first bell goes, you know that you couldn't have done any more, and then whatever unfolds to an extent is whatever unfolds. But he does seem in a really, really good place. And I think that extra bit of responsibility of having the captain's armband, if you like, I think it does. I think it suits him, doesn't it?
Yeah, listen, there's different types of leaders. We know that there's leaders like a Roy Keane who sort of, shout and scream and get people by the scruff of the neck and say you need to do better. But sometimes there are quiet leaders who maybe lead a little bit from the back or even lead by example. Their actions do the talking. I think Hamza's going to be one of those.
Yeah, I think so. And when you look at Fight Week as well, these are all experienced fighters on the card, but you can always learn from other people. And if he's a model of composure, which is what he is at the minute, he's a picture of composure, that's a good example to set.
Yeah.
Because people can lose their minds during Fight Week. Even experienced fighters can lose their minds during Fight Week. And if you're skipper, if you like, if you can look at him and just think, all right, I just need to try and dial it down a bit and not copy him, but let's just, if he's a nice kind of like comforting Zen-like presence, if you ever can be such a thing as a professional trained fighter, then that's a good thing.
But anything but a Zen-like presence when the first bell rings. This man, he just beat a Williams in the first round, knocked out Liam Williams. 13 knockouts in a row. He's on some streak, Andy.
Yeah, he is, and he does have that ability, it would appear, to flick that switch quite late, so he doesn't waste any emotional energy unnecessarily during fight week. And as I said, that's a good example to set. But then when he needs to click in, he can do it.
Well, let's hear this announcement of Deontay Wilder.
A record consisting of 43 wins, 3 defeats, 1 draw, 42 of his 43 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the former WBC heavyweight champion of the world, known as the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder.
Well, here comes the former long-reigning WBC World Heavyweight Champion, Deontay Wilder, coming out to a bit of sweet home Alabama. And of course, Saturday night is Alabama Power versus Chinese Power. It's Bronze Bomber versus Big Bang. And this man here that you're looking at is the Matchroom captain. If he does what he has done so often in his career, which is win a fight by knockout, he will get 4 big points for Matchroom.
Absolutely, and he is still well capable of it. That much we do know. I'm just intrigued to see what kind of performance we'll get from him, for all the reasons that we discussed over the last couple of days, for the reasons that we discussed with Frank. The desire and the hunger to be in the ring is still there. If it wasn't, then he wouldn't be here. It's as simple as that. He doesn't need to be here. He's a long-reigning world champion. He's made piles and piles of money. He's hugely well respected. His legacy in the sport is secure, but he's here because he still feels like he can thrill and shock and entertain and surpass his current achievements. That's why he's here.
Well, here is a young man who is also looking to become a world champion, Mr. Triple D, Daniel Dynamite Dubois. How are you, Daniel?
I'm good, I'm ready to go.
I know you are, I can tell. And I love the ring walk music that you had, a bit of It's Coming Home. Whose idea was that?
That just happens, man. You know what, I'm in the mood, I'm in the vibe, I'm just feeling the whole atmosphere, and yeah, it's my time now.
Have you got something for us at the press conference tomorrow?
We'll see.
That's a yes, maybe that's a yes.
I love it, because the last time you surprised everyone. You're getting really, really good at these press conferences.
Yeah, well, you know, it's part of the game. It's part of the game. What really matters is on Saturday, and that's what I'm more focused about.
Have you pictured it? Have you imagined it? Have you gone through it in your head? What's going to happen on Saturday?
No, I've prepared for it. I've trained for it. I've visualized it for weeks and weeks. It's now just about ticking over and peaking right on the night.
I don't feel like you're going to give away your game plan, but I just got a feeling that you might be looking to start quick and make sure he doesn't really settle.
Well, it's a fight. You're going to go out there to go out and fight. It's a fight, you know. That's what I'm feeling. That's what I feel. That's what it is. I'm ready to go.
And being part of such a big show, Deontay Wilder, of course, behind you as well. What have you made around being around these other heavyweights? Are you enjoying it, knowing that you're amongst them, and you know you could be fighting one of these guys soon as well?
Well, we're in the same division. That could have happened. So, you know, I'm the young guy coming through, so I need to make my dominance known, and this is my time.
And how close by are you keeping your dad on Saturday night? Because he was great in the last fight. He really gave you a good kind of talking to, right?
It was, yeah. Hopefully, you know, yeah, definitely. He's there, he's part of the team, he's been with me all the way. So, yeah, he's definitely my right-hand man.
Best of luck to you, Daniel. We're going to let you go. Triple D, Daniel Dynamite Dubois, a huge moment.
He's
in
ready
his
to
career.
go now, isn't he?
He's ready to go. Listen, he just... I'll be honest, Andy, he fist bumped me on the way out, and I think he's caused bruising. I ain't even going to lie, I think he's caused some bruising there. But look at Deontay Wilder, he's caused plenty of bruising in his career, so many knockouts, and Big Bang Zhang, he looks like he's enjoying himself.
He absolutely does. These are two magnificent characters. They really are. He's just having a little dance off stage there. He's got some rhythm, he's got some shapes for a big lad, but they're just a pleasure to have around, aren't they? They really are. And I still, every day I think about this fight, I can't make my mind up as to what I think is going to happen. I can make cases for all kinds of scenarios. What we do know is what Frank said to us earlier on, and Eddie said the same. This is absolutely massive for both of them. Whoever loses, their time at the top of the heavyweight division realistically is over.
Now fighting out of Bloomfield, New jersey, USA. He was a 2008 Olympic silver medalist, and now as a professional has a record consisting of 26 wins, 2 defeats, 1 draw, 21 of his 26 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the former WBO interim heavyweight world champion, Zhilei Big Bang Zhang.
Hey, Dion, you are bronze farmer. I'm Big Bang. I'm you.
Fantastic work from Majestic, the DJ there. I love the use of a lovely little quote at the start of it from our social media clip, and then out comes Big Bang, making his way to the ring now. Huge opportunity to deprive Matchroom of points on Saturday night. He will be taking on Deontay Wilder, their captain. And speaking of Deontay Wilder, we are with the coach, Mr. Malik Scott. How are we?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, great to see you. So listen, I guess the main question around all of this has been, has Deontay Wilder rediscovered the bronze bomber? Do we know yet? Have you seen him?
Yes. Well, one testimony, a huge moment, is the way that he rededicated himself over the last 5 months. And over the last 6 weeks has been the most violent and the most assertive I've seen him in training camp before he won the world title against Stavern 1. So this was a mental adjustment, that's all. He had to just rethink things. He came back. He's back. I actually believe, I told him today that he has the opportunity to show these people and show the whole world that he could be better. He could have a great performance and be better than he's ever been before. So the Bronze Bomber has returned, but the better side of the Bronze Bomber has returned. Now, this is the better half.
Can I hit you with a bit of Rocky 3? Is this a Rocky 3 type situation where basically in that film the word around Rocky was that he got civilised, he got too comfortable, he got beaten by Clubber Lang, he was doubted by everybody, he went back to basics in Apollo's gym in LA, sprinting on the beach, and then he won the rematch?
Yes. Specifically Rocky 3 is where Sylvester really lost his hunger. And that right there, that was a lesson, not just in boxing, but everybody in life. Sometimes we can get a little bit unfocused. A contentment can get inside of us. But real champions, this is a great opportunity for Deontay to show his greatness. And I believe he can do that. And we have the perfect opponent to do that with. He's dangerous enough to keep Deontay alert, but he's big enough to be right there for everything Deontay want to hit him with.
I'm just curious, what are we looking at weight-wise for Deontay Wilder? It's always a question, because he's a kind of a more slender heavyweight. I mean, he hits like he's 400 or 500 pounds, but he's more slender. Big Bang, we know what he is. He'll be 270, 280 in there. Yeah. What are we expecting weight-wise from Deontay Wilder?
He should be between 217 and 222, maybe a pound or two heavier, maybe a pound or two lighter. Size won't be, in my opinion, the factor here. It'll be about the positioning, setting this big guy up, but being alert, protecting yourself, but being assertive and being aggressive and being very violent. And that has been the main thing for this training camp: violence, assertiveness, but also being dressed down in defense when it's time to be. I can't wait for you guys to see him Saturday. You're going to be very impressed.
There's also a bit of a subplot as well in the trainers versus trainers. Sean George, a long-time friend of yours, I understand 17 years you guys have known each other. How does it feel to be going up against him?
Well, I've been telling everybody, not just Jang has been in my dreams and in my sleep and in my film study, but also his teacher, which is Sean George, somebody I knew since I've been 17 years old. We come up in this game together. We used to film study together. So it's more than an honor not to just go against Jang with Deontay, but also go against another fellow teacher and friend of mine. But I have every intention on getting him out of there as well. I'm trying to mess up everything they got going with Deontay Wilder, and we're going to get it done Saturday night.
I'm really curious as to what it's like training a very unique athlete like Wilder, because the way he delivers, he can knock people out from seemingly any angle at any time. Against Helenius, his feet were together off the floor and he knocked him out with the right hand to the forehead. And if you speak to
You're talking about Ortiz?
Helenius, Ortiz, really. And you talk about, I remember talking to a doctor about that, and he said to me, it's almost impossible to knock somebody out hitting them front onto the forehead.
Yes.
To what extent do you try and make adjustments to him, or is part of the job really just knowing when to leave well enough alone?
I just believe that the difference between Deontay Wilder power and a lot of these other guys' power is Deontay can knock you out from a 6-inch distance or long range distance. It just doesn't matter. He has a gift. This is not something that can be taught. Now, what he did work on is lining these guys up. It takes craftsmanship to line up Ortiz not once but twice. It takes craftsmanship to put Tyson Fury down. You just don't knock those quality, you don't put those quality fighters down on the ground just because you can punch. And what he does very well is put these guys in the perfect position to knock them out. And that's what we're going to do come Saturday night. We're going to put Zhang in the perfect position and take him in a dark place and get him out of there.
So do you think against Parker maybe it was the case that he just kind of felt like at some point during the 12 rounds I'll land on him and he kind of neglected that part of it, setting it up almost?
Against Parker?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would say contentment. He didn't take any risks.
He got civilized.
He got very civilized, and he didn't pull the trigger at all. No one could have predicted that fight in the way that it went that night. It was very strange, but we didn't cry over spilt milk. What we did was we fixed it immediately. Rededicating yourself, becoming a gym rat again, using every bit of God-given ability that was gifted to you, not just the right hand. I don't look at Deontay and think of right hand. I look at Deontay and think of speed, dynamics, good left hook, good head movement, good responsible defense when he want to do these things. He's been doing it for the last 5, 6, 7 weeks, purely in training camp, and like I said, I can't wait for you guys to see him Saturday.
Just how wary are you of Zhilei Zhang's power? Because he's got a big bang as well.
I'm very wary of it. He's a big guy. He knows what he's doing. He has a great teacher. He has an incredible pedigree. His second shot, in my opinion, is better than his first shot, which is the hook. The left hand is what really gets your attention. But in my opinion, when the going get tough and the tough get going, Deontay Wilder is a much more tougher man than Zhang. When things get uncomfortable with Zhang, his mannerisms goes to shit. When things get uncomfortable with Deontay, he goes to war. So it may come down to that, who really wants it the most and who have the best mannerisms to compete with each other on a high level like this fight is.
That is a great line to leave us on. Thank you so much, Malik
Absolutely.
Scott. Pleasure speaking with you.
Blessings.
Very, very knowledgeable boxing man. Let's grab that mic from you.
I see you.
Exit stage right. Malik Scott takes, well, he doesn't take anyone on. I mean, he has taken plenty on in his time, but he will be backing his man Deontay Wilder. He says that the Bronze Bomber is back. The Bronze Bomber has relit the fire. The hunger is back. Fantastic chat from you, Andy Clark, about the whole Rocky 3 and being civilised. Rocky just always works, doesn't it?
Well, Rocky's real life. You talk to fighters, Rocky is real life, and they're kind of life lessons. But he's such an interesting case, Wilder, particularly where he is in his career now, because at Christmas, we felt like he was the one who still had the hunger and Joshua had lost it. 2 or 3 hours later, they're leaving the ring and we feel like Wilder's lost his hunger and Joshua's got it back. So it can be flipped on its head. It can happen. And I would, I'm very, very curious to see it. But he's in against this man, so it's going to be literally a very tall task.
Well, we have Mr. Kurt Lee. Great to see you.
How's it going, Dave?
Mr. Zhilei Big Bang Zhang and Mr. Sean Judge. How are we, gentlemen? Okay, well, let's speak to Big Bang. We've just seen you dancing. You seem to be enjoying yourself. Look at this. You love it here, don't you?
很轻松，是不是？
Yeah， 非常轻松，然后一切都准备就绪。
Very relaxed. Everything is ready. Hard work's done.
Does this feel different to the Parker fight? And if so, how?
感觉这场比赛和帕克的比赛有什么不一样吗？
会有不一样，因为在和帕克的比赛的时候，然后就完全是轻敌，就是比赛前就没把它当回事儿，然后这一次就不一样了。
Totally different. I was completely underestimating Joe Parker. This time is different.
He looks slim. I saw him in the gym today. I was exercising just next to the two of them. Is he? How much lighter will he be this time than he was against Parker?
看着你瘦了，这次大概体重是多少？
300 pounds. Okay, my coach asked me 300 pounds.
Maybe 301.
Bit of gamesmanship there. Zhilei, we're going to get you to hold the mic to Sean George. I want to ask Sean George a question here. It's also you against Malik Scott. I will just give you a mic. It's also you against Malik Scott. You've been friends for many, many years. A whole other subplot and dynamic to Saturday night.
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun. We've been friends 27 years. So he has a brilliant mind. I'm looking forward to going up against him and Deontay Wilder. I think it's a great event.
And when it comes to Zhang's fight with Joe Parker,
right?
Where did it go wrong for you?
The third round. He fell in love with his power. He started to celebrate. He lost focus. He understands it. We talked about it. We spoke about it. Ever since that fight, though, he's been on a different level, a whole nother level, mentally, physically, and everything else. Saturday night is going to be something crazy. We fucking shit up here. Excuse my French.
Okay. I mean, we're available in multiple languages, including French. Kurt, let me ask here if Zhang agrees with that. Did Big Bang fall in love with the Big Bang? Is that what went wrong against Joe Parker?
上一次对帕克的时候，你是为自己的力量感到非常着迷，想要一个劲儿发力，对不对
？Yeah， 就是依靠重拳，想太依赖重拳，然后但是时机始终达不到，然后这次就不一样了。
I was absolutely in love with my heavy shot. I would try to knock him out with one punch. This time I learned my lesson. Everything will be different.
Actually, if you could just swap that back, so I've just got a quick one. I've just got a quick question for Sean. As a coach,
yes,
preparing for a fight against someone like Deontay Wilder is quite a unique thing, I would imagine, because he's a very unique athlete. He's got that power and he can deliver it from seemingly anywhere at any time. Is it different preparing a fighter for a fight
Deontay Wilder? He has the right hand. Everything else he does wrong. He's allowed to do a lot of different things in that ring. The referees allow him to do different things. Stiff arm people, slap at the back of the hand, cuffing and holding. He's allowed to do these things. I'm hoping the referee this time around does not allow him to get away with these things. Just warning from round 1 to round 12 doing the same thing. Did he get away with those things over there because he's Deontay Wilder, he's a world champion? But Zhilei is a different story now. And we're here to take, like I said earlier, we're here to fuck shit up.
So is the plan. We know how Big Bang fights. Big Bang walks straight into the fire and makes things happen. He makes explosions. Is that what the plan is on Saturday? Walk straight towards the fire that is Deontay Wilder?
你周六的计划是不是提前往前冲，然后一个劲儿想结束比赛呢？
现在基本上是这个预算，到时候随着场上的变化而变化吧。
You can say so. Let's see what happens Saturday. I will adapt.
Well, listen, I'll just.
Well, by any means necessary, we win in this fight. If we want to box, we could box. We could bang it out, we could bang it out. No matter what happening in there, we coming out to win it Saturday night.
Is that the plan, Big Bang? Are you going to bang Deontay Wilder on Saturday night?
你要弄他吗？周六晚上
？Yeah, I ban him.
Pause.
A very suitable pause. Thank you so much, Kurt. Thank you so much, Big Bang. Thank you very much, Sean George, as well. We have paused at the right time there. Big Bang has confirmed his plan is to bang Deontay Wilder on Saturday. Listen, if he does knock out Deontay Wilder, it's quite something. Only Tyson Fury has done it, and that was after a quite hellacious war. You don't see Wilder getting knocked out kind of with one shot or anything like that.
No, he's proved the solidity of his chin, and that finish in Fury Wilder 3, he collapsed out of exhaustion, basically. It was one of those types of knockout. They're a great fun team to have around, aren't they? He's a really amiable presence, Zhang. There's a real edge there to Sean George. He knows this is a big moment. Always interesting to hear thoughts on the referee and that kind of rallying call sent out early just to try and get in their ear. I'm sure he'll be talking to the officials when he sees them, the first time he sees them, and telling them exactly what he doesn't want to see happen in that ring. But he knows that this is a big night, really big night.
Can I just say, Andy Clark, what a pro you are. Out of shot. Well, no, actually, you're in shot now. You've got two mics, refusing to drop the mic. Too much respect for the equipment. I love that, Andy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Way too much respect. Listen, so let me get your thoughts, because I'm not sure what I'm doing tomorrow. Have you got like a score in mind right now for the 5 versus 5? What do you think? You don't have to name which fights you think, but...
Oh, okay. That's good, yeah. That's good. That works. I'm changing my mind on some fights almost by the day, but at the minute I've got 3-2 Queensberry.
3-2 Queensberry, great. Well, listen, as the week develops, we can start digging into that prediction.
Does that get me a Queensberry tracksuit, do you think?
You'd have to speak to Matt Rich. There are a few knocking about. It looks like a whole merch kind of thing going on here. But that is us. Thank you so much, Andy Clark. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. That was the workout today here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, right here in Boulevard City. It's 5 versus 5, and on Saturday night it's live. Do not miss it. Do not miss the press conference tomorrow. Can't wait to see how many fireworks we see. Thank you.